Hello everybody, welcome back to another Roblox YouTube video. Today on Arcane Odyssey. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos. I know I said that a lot for a lot of my videos, but I do like coming back to games, and especially Arcane Odyssey. This one has recently captured my interest again. It's a lot of fun. Recently just made a conjurer, but anyways, I'm going to shut up. And in today's video, I actually wanted to do a giant guide on every single boss in the game and how to kill them on basically any character with not much effort, because I know that there are some players who just struggle a lot with fighting some of the bosses in this game, and honestly some of them are just kind of bullshit. Like Lord Elias is just a pain, and so is the King. Both of them are very difficult to kill. So I'm going to go ahead and exempt two bosses in this video. The first one being the mysterious man whom to fight at the start of the game. He uses acid imbued magic and it only has about 100-200 health. He's very weak and it is a tutorial boss, not difficult at all. So most of you won't need help with him. But to give you a general tip on how to fight him, I recommend you use the flintlock the game gives you at the start of the game to defeat him, since it is best to use ranged against him. Anyways, guys, we're going to start off here with Iris. Iris is the first real boss the player fights with in the game. She uses fire magic. She can be really annoying since she can spam a bunch of AoEs and actually dig a hole using her explosions and can get stuck in them. And this can cause the player some real fucking turmoil. This can cause the player some real turmoil and honestly a bunch of problems. So overall, the player will struggle a lot more against this boss, especially when they're new to the game. The same strategy of spamming range really won't work here. So what I recommend you do is actually use your magic. If you just go into your menu, into your menu here, and change your poison, like your blast move, which is just that like little ball you send out. Edit it and max out the blast and explosion size. When you do that, this will give you a lot more AoE to work with. You will deal less damage, but it'll be much easier to hit her, and overall this fight will go a lot faster. So she is very low here, so I will end up one-shotting her, but as you can see what I'm talking about, she makes very large holes in the ground, and honestly this can be just really annoying to deal with, and her damage over time effects are no joke either. And if you're not careful with your dashes, you can actually fall right off the map here. So what I recommend you do with her is you can actually go ahead and trail her backwards while also spamming your ranged attacks. This can lead for a much easier kill overall, but she is a beginner boss and is not that much difficult at all. So if you really need to gear up beforehand, I recommend you maybe should probably get to level you could even honestly get to level 40 before fighting her to make this fight a real breeze. Now, is there any tips for fighting her? I recommend you bring her more inland. Track her this way, kite her. Don't fight her over there, because you might end up falling off the ledge and you'll be so scared that you're gonna fall off the ledge it might end up getting you killed. So honestly, if I were you, I would go ahead and stand back like this and just kind of use these ledges here to your advantage, because she will either try to climb up them and get stuck, which can, you know, lead for you to deal out more damage, or she gets up and you attack her anyways. For melee against her, honestly there really isn't much you can do when using melee against her, since she spams her AoE attacks, and the fire on the ground does count as its own damage source. So you can end up dying very quickly if you try to melee kill her at all. So honestly, I recommend you just kind of hang back and spam your AoEs. Now, of course, you know, you could still use like these melee moves and stuff like that, like your AoEs. Like those will work just fine. This doesn't only work with, you know, the regular blast attack for magic. This can work with any AoE attack. It does not matter what it is. Poison honestly would get the most benefit out of this, since poison leaves a cloud behind. As you can see here, this cloud right here does deal damage to opponents, and it's very, very, very useful. Trust me, especially when you're spamming your ranged attacks like so. This can easily build up, and this damage does stack. So if you do multiple explosions in the same area, it stacks and it can kill enemies incredibly fast. So you will melt bosses, especially with magma. I recommend you use that. It's really, really good. Acid magic's really overpowered for this as well. You might struggle if you use magics that don't have a very good AoE, Wood is a good example of this. It is a cool magic, don't get me wrong. I have it on another character. Wood is very fun. It does seem a bit strange to use wood magic, but if you did decide to choose that, trust me, it's not that bad. So as you can see, I'm able to get a lot of value out of my ranged attacks here, and she will get stuck in the ground. And honestly, not much of an issue for you. Overall, this boss is pretty damn easy and really shouldn't be giving you that much of an issue, but she can really hurt at the start of the game, especially with a lack of gear or any armor. What I recommend players do is actually loot the chests that are inside of the ice cave. There's actually a little bit of a parkour section here. It's where the ice thieves are. It should be down here. Yeah, right here. So kind of just keep going. There are chests in here. So the ice bandits are down here. I'll show you where this is, just to kind of give you a tip for the start. As you can see, here's some ingredients right here, so you can make yourself some food. The ice bandits are there. So if you actually come over here and you do the parkour section, you can get yourself some nice early game loot. If you go over this direction, go straight ahead and drop into this pit. You can see here, there's some chest, scroll chest there. See, I got some early game items for you, so you can maybe get some armor out of this. And honestly, this can help you out a lot getting early game armor, because it'll increase your damage, your health. You always need health because you're always fucking dying. So, I think that's enough for this boss. I'm gonna move on to the next. Alright guys, now we're on to one of the more difficult bosses in the game, and honestly, a lot of players will get soft blocked here. This boss is incredibly difficult for newer players, and honestly, even for me. Like, he can fuck you up. This, of course, is Lord Elias. This guy drops some pretty desirable items. His armor set's quite decent. His weapons are quite decent. And overall, he's worth killing. But the thing about this boss is you need to kill him to progress the story. And most players aren't able to kill him without help. And he's incredibly infuriating because he's able to heal himself, and he can keep doing this over and over. And if you get killed by him when he's in his second phase, he can actually stay in his second phase and go back to full HP. So you'll have him down 500, 400 HP, and he's in second phase, spamming all his moves, deals more damage and whatnot, heals for more, and he kills you, goes back up to full HP, and now you're pissed off. So so honestly, this boss is where most players will end up quitting the game. So my honest tips for you: so by now you're probably around level 50, level 60, somewhere around there, because if you're grinding out your levels and you're not going in this early, won't have that many problems. Depending on what build you are will depend on how much you're going to want to spam against him. Now, I'm a conjurer, so I get a lot of benefits from using weapons. I recommend you use a combination of the flintlock from the start of the game, yes, and I mean that, and your magic, just like you did with Iris. Spamming your ranged abilities against this guy is your best bet. Otherwise, this fight will be very, very difficult. Thing is if you're outside of his arena like I am here, make sure you do not go into the arena. If you do, you will, and I mean you will, regret it. He can use a melee move against you that does upwards of 200 damage. It's ridiculous. So this guy can fuck you up, especially if you're not prepared for it. So as long as you're hanging back like so, using your ranged abilities, he won't be that much of a problem. Now, the thing is this will take you a couple tries, because you're gonna need to read his animations, since he's very hard to see. Attack him when he's doing moves, not before or after, like when he's about to. Like you see there, he does that little animation. You want to hit him there. You want to hit him in the middle of his animations, like right there. Easy, opportune time to shoot at him. Dodge his attack kind of thing. There you go, he does it again. This boss does give you a lot of opportunities to get counter attacks in, since he does do a lot of moves. You can attack him when he's healing, you can attack him when he's doing his bow attack, you can attack him when he's throwing the spear at you. You can do a lot with him. Now, this boss gets difficult when people try to fight him in his own arena, since he will do melee attacks against you that can instantly kill the player, fling them around. The bleed damage he does is insane. He'll teleport around the pillars in his arena, from like right there to there, over to there, and he's super hard to track. So what you want to do is you want to stay right out here and just use either your blast attack. Now, remember what I said about your blast attack before, where you changed it from super big, you want to change it to small, and same thing with this. The reason why is because this is going to take more precision than before, and if your blast is smaller, it will deal more damage and it moves faster. The larger your blast is slower and the less damage it does, but it has a bigger AoE. So we're gonna go into his arena so I can give you maybe like a good example. Yeah, you see there's his melee attacks, and he'll keep doing that over and over. Now, if you yourself are a melee user, you can actually get up in his face and deal a lot of damage against him. So as you can see there, I was really putting the hurt on him. These melee weapons are no joke. But, you know, obviously when you're at this stage of the game, you're not going to be able to do that much damage to him. If you have a group of friends, try to do the melee strat. Just chase him down and just beat on him. Because melee damage, or just holding left click with melee weapons, deals a shitload of damage. Like, it's insane. Like, oh my god. It's no joke, the amount of damage you can dish out. So, my general tips for you are: 1, don't be scared to run away. If you are low on HP, hide. Just retreat back to here if you can, and he'll continue to spam his attacks, and just wait for yourself to heal. Now, he can heal himself, I know. That is a pain in the ass. Healing himself is probably one of the most annoying mechanics a boss can do, and will obviously make the fight drag on for much longer than it needs to. So, you know, there's not much you can do against that, because it's just kind of, you know, it's just kind of bullshit. Yeah, you can see, like, look, he's doing a shitload of damage to me there. Like, he hurts, man. He is no joke. So this is going to take a lot of patience from you. This is not a boss that you can beat in a day. I say that, I mean, first try. You know, you're gonna need to be a little bit more patient if you're gonna beat him. Trust me, it took me a couple tries. It takes everyone a couple tries their first time, and you will eventually get it. You just need to learn how to read his animations. You need to learn how to dodge his attacks. And of course, you saw the moves that he uses. He's very fast. He uses lightning abilities, so when you're soaked, you take more damage. Well, guess what? In his second phase, it starts raining, and what do you know? You get soaked. Yes, this little status effect down here in the bottom left corner under your hunger bar increases the damage you take from electricity attacks. And trust me, it is no fun. It sucks. Your best choice of weapons are definitely going to be the flintlocks and your blast attacks, since those are going to dish out the most damage and give you the most bang for your buck in terms of range of damage. And obviously you're not going to have infinite ammo for your flintlock. So, and of course every fight depends on how or what kind of magic you use and the weapons you're using. So obviously it's not going to be the same for everybody in terms of the magic department, since every magic does different damage over time. They all have their own speeds, they all move at different paces, so it's going to be either far easier for some players or far more difficult for some players, since, you know, damage and balance and whatnot isn't perfect in any game, especially not this one. So the flintlocks are a good way of dishing out damage without any risk, since the bullets, they travel incredibly fast. So, you know, that you don't have to worry about. Even if you aren't a weapons build and you're going pure magic, a flintlock is still good to have on hand. Trust me. Trust me, you will not regret having a flintlock. Just having that extra projectile there when you need it is always helpful, since when you're done using your blast, you can switch right over to your flintlock and shoot 2 shots, 1 shot, depending if you have dual or just 1. If you need help with Lord Elias, go to the Discord server. There are tons of people that will be more than happy to give you a hand with him if you are struggling a lot. But this is for more or less the people that have more pride and don't want to have help for fighting the boss. Trust me, I didn't want to have help for fighting him either. I soloed him just fine. It took me several tries to get him, but eventually I did manage to get him using just the standard blast attack and the flintlocks. So obviously the flintlock method isn't going to stay forever, since it doesn't work on, you know, every boss. There's just one exemption to this method, that being Assassin Merlots or Mariots, or however you want to say his name, because the method for killing him is a bit unique compared to other bosses, but you know, not a problem in that regard. Anyways, moving on to the next boss. Alright guys, the next boss is going to be General Argos. This one is another pretty difficult boss for most new players or people who are inexperienced. And if I'm going to be honest with you, he's incredibly fucking easy. Like, really easy. It's actually kind of sad if I'm being honest with you. So, we're going to go ahead and show you how to beat him. So there's 2 ways you can do this. Yeah, pretty much. By the way, he is supposed to be a boss that is able to kill me, but as you saw there, he is a pushover. So that was General Argos. No, I'm kidding. I'm obviously going to give you more tips than that. So this boss can be defeated with the tried and true, using a flintlock method, just like every other boss. But I've actually made a video in the past about how to actually defeat him using the wall. Yes, that's right. You can get him stuck on this very wall and then proceed to, you know, lay waste on him. It's not very difficult. Obviously, you don't have to beat him like this. It's completely optional, you know, and if you want more pride, I recommend that you go ahead and fight him inside of the arena using, obviously, what you saw there, using your fist or using ranged. Now, this boss actually is doesn't do that much damage. I know that kind of sounds weird because he's a guy that uses a giant sword, so you think he'd dish out a lot of damage. The reason why is because he has massive AoEs that will just crowd the entire room. So the way the developer decided to balance that was making the AoEs do less damage overall, so that they can be larger in the long run. So you can actually just kind of sit in here and just kind of keep backtracking him, like holding S and just, you know, dashing away from him, and just keep spamming your flintlock and your, you know, your blast move or whatever your long range attack is, or you can get right up in his face and just beat on him. So obviously I'm going to show you how to cheese him. The cheese method is always fun. You know, we like cheesing, you know, we like cheese here. So we're just going to go ahead and wait for him to spawn, and there he is. So we're going to go ahead and we'll show you how to do it. So you're going to want to kind of piss him off, you know, get up close to him, do whatever this is. So he's going to chase you down. Stand at the door. It's kind of just get him over here. He's going to get pissed off at you. There he is. So he does that little lunge. Go back to the wall. There you go. Look at that. Easy peasy. So now he's stuck on the wall, and there's nothing you can do. He's just going to keep attacking, and that's pretty much all he can do. you can go ahead and just spam your ranged attacks like so. And just kind of chill, you know? Watch YouTube, spam the E key, you know? Normal stuff. You can even back up all the way to the wall, and you can actually lose his aggro. As you can see there. You can see there in the chat, he's pissed. You just keep spamming your attacks, and like, this boss is just cake, dude. He is not difficult. Like, it's kind of sad. I kind of wish he was much more, like, difficult, and honestly more of a challenge. Because getting to him is honestly more difficult than actually fighting him. And he's a really cool boss, I'm not gonna lie. I like the idea of a guy that doesn't need magic and just uses giant fucking swords and he just kicks your ass, you know? Oh, I got a drop from him. That's actually sick. But yeah, he's really, really easy. And honestly, you shouldn't have that much problems with him. Honestly, Iris would be more of a challenge than him. And, you know, you got two ways you can fight him. You can just dodge him in the arena, and his attacks really aren't that troublesome. They don't do that much damage, so there's really not much to worry about. There is no risk when fighting this boss, apart from just... there's none. I can't think of one, honestly. I mean, like, yeah, his final phase can be a problem, because he'll kind of do a black hole kind of effect, suck you in, and then proceed to, you know, maim you. But if you do manage to get caught in that, all you need to do is block by holding G and just back up. Yeah, he'll still damage you, but that's not going to be enough to kill you, since it'll just kind of do some peck damage. And as long as you stay away from him, you can actually just... you'll stay safe. Like, he's not a hard boss, and if you just get him stuck on this wall out here, there's really not much to worry about. You can farm drops from him, and honestly, I stay here, like, when I first get to him in my playthroughs, I'll stay here for, like, a couple hours fighting him and farming drops from him. Just to, like, trade off the players to get some, like, gear for the end game and whatnot. And honestly, he's kind of disappointing. I wish he was more difficult. I wish he was a little bit faster. I wish he dealt just a smidge more damage. But apart from that, we're going to move on to the next boss. Alright guys, now we're on Lady Karina. This boss, honestly not that hard, and honestly not that easy. Overall, she's a bit in the middle. Now, to be fair, her second phase is really fucking annoying. And she moves so damn much, dude. Like, my god, it's too much for a boss. It's fucking infuriating. I'm gonna try to fight it. And just like that, you got a showcase of her moves. You see what she does. So, in our first phase, she moves around quite a bit. She uses some moves here and there. Pretty standard stuff. Now, this is one of the few bosses where it's going to be much more difficult to use the flintlocks against her. So, you're going to need to switch back to the AoE method. And for those who use AoE, like me, you're probably rejoicing right now. Because trust me, I fucking hate her. So she dashes from side to side, and her attacks don't do that much damage, and that is because she's so mobile. So honestly, getting right up in her face is one of the better ways to actually fight her. since she herself doesn't do that much damage, she can be a bit of an issue, so maybe face tanking everything she does isn't that much of a good idea. And in her second phase, she kills herself, so if you are incapable of dealing enough damage, she will heal back to full HP. I know. And guys, trust me, this fight can be very painful, especially if you manage to dodge her to over here, because you see there, oh, she's gonna get me, and you use an attack. What happens? The fucking grass stops your attack. Yeah, it is as annoying as it sounds. And this kind of leads to this awkward dance you do with her in the grass trying to actually hit her, and it's like fucking impossible. She also does this like little grab there, as you can see, that just kind of like does like 20 damage or some dumb shit and just kind of knocks you into the ground. It's really annoying to get hit by it because it just kind of wastes your time. And since she moves around a lot, this fight can just kind of drag on for like fucking ever, it feels. So you just kind of have to get lucky and hope she sits still long enough for you to actually get some hits in. And as you can see, I'm almost dead. Ironically, this boss fight can be even more difficult than General Argos, despite General Argos supposedly being a more difficult boss, or at least attempting to be. But honestly, she ain't too bad. Really doesn't require that much help, and she is just super immobile, so you might need to spam your AoE attacks, so whoop-de-doo. You know, play range like normal. There aren't really any attacks you need to worry about that she does that would honestly warrant me telling you about them, apart from just the one where she grabs you, which can put you in a pretty bad spot, since it does slam you into the ground, and your character, you know, does that thing that every video game player character does, and they're like, oh man, I got knocked down. Give me an hour and a half so I can stand back up. Oh my god. I'm so dazed and confused. Even though I can get, you know, hit in the head with a fucking aether magic that's imbued with god powers. Whatever, dude. She's not that hard. Really doesn't warrant too much, apart from just a little bit of spit grit and some good aim. If you're a magic build, just spam the explosive move. Not really that much of an issue. Overall, pretty easy boss. Now, guys, we've gotten pretty far into this video. I'd like to clarify a couple things. I'm not going to talk about the aquatic bosses, being like the Leviathan, White Eyes, and what have you. Those bosses I don't talk about because, one, they're fucking just sharks. There is no real boss fight there. Two, they can either be the easiest thing you've ever fought or the hardest thing you've ever fought. And if you want a genuine tip on how to fight them, quick tip. Honestly, they can spawn here at the very edge of islands, and actually, you know, you'll see like their health bar at the top of your screen. Now, using your third-person camera, go ahead and look under the water, or you can even get in the water and like really fast and then get right back out. Find out where they are, pull out your gun, your blast attack, whatever, shoot them. Shoot them from a range, and trust me, you'll kill them. If you get in the water with them to fight them, you fucking can't. They'll one-shot you. Like, it is so random. They will one-shot you. So your only bet is to fight them on a boat, and they'll one-shot your boat as well. So it makes even less sense. So if you can kill them, kill them. If you can't, don't bother. They don't drop anything really worth your time, like, at all. Like, the Leviathan drops the poison tooth dagger, from what I know, and it's a pretty mediocre dagger with very mid stats that really aren't worth your time. Whatever. They don't have any attacks either. They just kind of chase you and bite you, so it's just avoid that. So really not much there. All right, boys, it's time for arguably the hardest boss in the game, the king himself. King Calvus is, again, another stepping stone for some people. He's incredibly hard. He does insane damage, has very huge AoEs, and is just a pain. This boss is no joke. His damage is immaculate. He can deal, he can actually do a one-shot AoE attack. Some players don't know how to actually defend against it. So, I'm going to give you some tips. So, if you're running pure melee, or doing a true melee build, which essentially just means you're just gonna only punch and just not use any range at all, good luck. It's almost impossible. So, when he does that little AoE attack using his hands, he puts his hands in the air, and you can hear him charging it. You need to attack him. If you do not attack him, the thing that is coming will kill you no matter what. You can be a max health build, and you will almost not be able to tank it at all. It is very hard to kill him. His melee attack, as you saw there, did 300 damage. His basic attacks deal more than 100. As you can see, this attack here, this is the giant AoE attack. So if you let him charge it up, it does 500 damage, and it will do it 3 times. So he will max out, dealing 1500 damage to you. That is the strongest attack in the entire game, apart from a shark, eating you. This is one of the few times I genuinely recommend that you take the time to ask for some help in the Discord server. This one is almost not soloable at all. On this character here, which is my main character, the first one that I've ever made, it took me, I think, about 15 tries total to finally kill him. And that was honestly due to luck, because I ended up dying in the middle of the fight and his health saved. Like, he stayed at the health I left him at. If I'm being honest, this one's almost impossible to beat without, genuine help or a immense amount of luck. So, how do you beat him? If I'm being honest with you, there's no cheese for this boss. So, what you can do, just like you did with every other boss, you're gonna need to spam your range attacks. Stay away from him. Do not, and I mean do not get close to him. Just like Lord Elias, if you get close to this boss, it is almost always going to be a death sentence. He does 300 damage with that melee attack, as you saw what he did to me. And of course it leaves you bleeding, which, that's no fun. So you want to go ahead and use these pillars and whatnot for cover. Stay up where his throne is, because when you do this, certain attacks will struggle a lot more to hit you. So, abusing this little throne here, he'll try to shoot balls at you and he won't be able to because you're behind a wall. See, right there, some of those missed. So, when he does that giant AoE attack I said that could attack you and almost instantly kill you, you can actually, when you attack him right away, what he does is he will immediately use it. As you can see right there, he'll use it instantly and it'll deal significantly less damage. When he does it, it's a prime opportunity to get out some damage on him, because when he's doing the attack, it's honestly worth it to trade damage instead. So yes, you will take some damage, but it's worth attacking him. I mean, it only did 33 there, as you saw on my screen, and I was able to dish out 400. Like right there it is again. He does it again. Easy peasy. And gets me the kill. Obviously, I am max level, so that did seem a bit easy. But as long as you just use those tips, he is I would say is tolerable, honestly. But by the time you fight him, you're around level 90, and at that level, you aren't doing as much damage, and you don't really even, you don't have your awakening yet. So, as you can see, I'm a warlord, so my attacks are imbued with fire, and they deal more damage as the base. But when you're level 90, you aren't going to have that. So, the fight is just going to be more difficult for you. So, at this stage of the game, you should be able to obtain yourself a pair of dual flintlocks. These will allow you to shoot twice. So this can allow you to deal more damage to him. As you saw there, when he does the giant AoE attack, as I previously mentioned, you can attack him during that. It's worth abusing it. Once you shoot him with your flintlocks, if you are using a weapons build, after shooting him twice, he will do the move, and then it'll deal very low damage to you. Charge up your Q attack, and then do that. Trust me, the damage you deal, ridiculous. It's worth trading with him. Do not be scared to trade damage. Do not be scared to take damage. But do not get within melee distance of him. If you just can't. It's not worth it, because he'll fuck you up. It's crazy. So I've tried it, trust me. I've tried doing melee only on him, where you just punch him. Shit's hard, dude. It is brutal. Alright, now we're on to a boss that most players probably won't even encounter in their own playthrough, since this is a side boss. His name is Cernix. Cernix is a pretty interesting boss, since he does use earth magic, and he's one of the few bosses in the game that uses a magic that doesn't actually deal damage over time. Now, Cernix himself is definitely worth killing. He drops a very, very good set of armor called the Cernix set, and it gives you some pretty incredible damage buff. This boss can be quite difficult, actually. While not being the hardest boss in the game, definitely one of the more annoying ones due to his, giant AoE attacks and just general hard to see him since his moves are so large. He's very difficult to actually get a good reading on and actually know where he is. So, for tips for fighting him, I recommend you actually stay on these pillars here, since Cernix will end up digging himself a hole and really won't be able to do much. So, your good old-fashioned strategy of using your, ranged attacks like your flintlocks and whatnot will end up working for you. So, if you can't see him, back away. There's no reason to actually get yourself into danger if you don't need to, since he'll end up coming to you. So, he's going to do a lot of his AoE attacks, and you should do the same. Spam your AoE moves, don't be scared. It's worth it. This boss can do a shit ton of AoE moves, and it is very, very, very difficult to keep track of him. So, what I recommend you do, if you're doing a weapon build, use the axe. Whether you're a warlord or just regular warrior, use the axe. Using a striking gale, that move is huge, does a shit ton of AoE, does good damage. Use it, spam it, whatever. 2, if you're using melee only, use shot. Boom, regular stuff like this. Use crash as well. You do that, those 2 things will carry you. They do big AoE. Since you can't see them, there's really no way you can fucking aim at them. So, unfortunately, you're stuck with just simply throwing out AoE and hoping for the best. Now, if you're a mage, you should have the easiest time here. All the magics have really good AoE damage, and they all can dish out damage in seconds, whether you're using magma, fire, poison, acid, whatever the fuck. It all works. Now, for some reason, it seems like Beast Claws are having a problem, and I'm not able to do the Beast Instinct move, but that move is also very good for this fight as well. Now, if you want to do the pussy method, you can go ahead and get them stuck on these sides here and just kind of spam your ranged attacks like so, and he'll just kind of do that. So you could just kind of keep running away from him. He's not too difficult, and he's also not too easy. He's about in between, similar to Lady Karina. He's a good fight. Makes for a pretty challenging fight, honestly, since you're gonna have to think a little bit here, because there's not much you could do against him without taking damage. Since this little pillar method I'm showing you here doesn't always work, and he'll end up going somewhere where you can't see him or get a good angle on him. So what else you can do? Get him in the middle here, run over here, this wide open area. It's kind of lower to the ground. He'll kind of get stuck over there. You can kind of just keep attacking him like so. He'll bring himself to the ground, but there is a couple moves you're gonna need to worry about. If you get too close to him, he will do a melee move. It did like 200 damage to me. Bada boom, bada bam. You just can kind of keep trailing him around this spot here, but don't go too far into the water, since he will end up despawning on you, unfortunately. You can also kind of hide around these little areas here to get back some HP as you trail him, since he does not regenerate his HP. So you can kind of sit around here. He'll try to attack you through the wall or something, and you'll be getting back your HP while he stands there like an idiot, because he's only an NPC and he doesn't understand the concept of going around walls. So if you're starting out in the game, I recommend you actually come over here and kill him, since there is a quest line you can do here, and it honestly is worth doing because the items he can give you are very strong. Like the Cernix Falls, they give you increased damage, defense, and what have you, and overall is worth defeating him for. Also, the questline here gives you a bunch of XP, and in the middle of the game, that can be very helpful. He himself does not have a very large health bar, so it makes, makes him easier to kill. I mean, you'll need to be a little bit more endurance focused and kind of patient, otherwise you will end up dying to him. But for my general tip, so he's another one of those bosses where you just want to stay away from him and just keep spamming your AoE moves. Honestly, using your ranged projectiles like the flintlock and your blast moves is going to be much more difficult here, since he is much harder to see and keep your eyes on. So sticking to your AoE is honestly just your best bet. There's really no other tips I can give you. Use your explosive move. Keep using Striking Gale if you're a warrior. If you're using melee, use your shot, use your crash. Alright guys, we're on to the last boss in this video. Now, some of you guys are going to be very confused on why I'm not going to be doing Commander Kai. The reason why is because all my characters are criminals. Not criminals, I lie. Are all heroes, so I'm not able to attack him. But it's the same gist here as it is for Assassin Merlot, or Marriott, whatever you want to call him. Let's get right into this. If you're a criminal, this fight is easy as can be. You just put 3 powder keg barrels next to him, powder barrels, whatever you want to call them, gunpowder barrels, explosive barrels next to the Marriott guy, and you set him off and he'll die pretty much instantly. So these guys here are a pain. Assassin Marriott is also a pain. He uses poison magic and is very difficult to kill. He can dish out insane amounts of damage and can almost kill you instantly, so you might want to prep up before fighting him. So go ahead and get his aggro. As you can see there, he's pissed off at me. You're gonna hug this wall when you walk back out. Assassin Marriott has been, how do you say, nerfed and cannot be killed through the wall anymore. So this makes his fight a lot more difficult. So how do you kill him? Well, if I'm being honest with you, there's really no easy way of doing this. You're gonna need to do it the old-fashioned way, by getting him out in the open and fighting him traditionally. Now, his attacks are very strong. You need to avoid all of them, because getting poisoned will almost ensure that you will die. There's no real way of doing this easily. Now, there is a way of cheesing him, even though you cannot do it with weapons anymore. As you saw there, it did not work, as attacking the wall did nothing. So, what are you supposed to do? Well, if you're using poison magic, you can still hit him through the wall using the poison. That's how I kill him on my other character. 2, if you're using magma or acid, the acid puddles that form when you use the magic can still attack him and hit him. 3, attacking him normally. There's really no easy way of doing it anymore, so you're gonna need to do it the legit way. If you're a criminal, you can stack 5 explosive barrels next to him and blow him up and killing him instantly. Give you free stuff, you know, easy XP, easy money, what have you. But here, you're just gonna need to fight him normally. So what can you do? You can actually get him stuck on pretty much all of the walls here, and he'll even attempt to attack through the walls. You can get him stuck on every single object here, and all these little guys are going to attack you too, and these guys are fucking annoying. So there's really no cheese method of killing him. You can only really use the environments here to your advantage. If you end up getting low on HP, I recommend you walk out. But if it takes too long, he will despawn and go back to his original spawn and get back all his HP. This boss is a pain, and honestly really isn't worth killing unless you're farming for fame, which you don't really need at the start of the game, but at the end of the game you will, and if you're at the end game, you could fight him normally without any problems. Anyways guys, that's been this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always guys, if you hated this video, make sure you dislike the video and leave something mean down in the comments. I appreciate all criticism, and anyways guys, I'll see you in the next one.